Welcome back to Money with Mac and G. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on our podcast. Now we're into part 2 of our interview with Glenn Schischa, who is a motivated individual and an entrepreneur at heart. He was willing to take risks, which led him to Asia as well as the West Coast without a job. But ultimately, he found one with Disney. But he goes on to get his MBA, and on a fluke, he takes an on-campus interview, which leads him to Orlando, where he gets to meet someone special who we haven't found out who it is yet. It's with great pleasure I get to bring back a close friend to tell the rest of his story of how his driving force is working somewhere with his set of values. I hope you enjoy part 2 of this discussion with Glenn Schischa, international strategist and entrepreneur.
I get this call that they want me to come down to Orlando to meet with, the CEO and talk into the job with strategic planning, starting out in strategic planning, which would kind of help to build.
That's big.
Yeah, a lot of the strategic direction where the organization is going to go to, whether it's acquisitions or this or that or everything. And I'm like, okay, don't know anything about this product, this whatever, but free trip to Orlando for the weekend. Again, I'm starving student. I am all over that.
Beers and Orlando sunshine.
So I came down, and my first interview was with the CEO.
Was that Rick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and sorry, Rick, he asked me like probably 2 or 3 questions. Legally, he was not allowed to ask me.
But he did anyway.
And he's like, oh, I know I shouldn't. I know I'm not allowed to ask this, but I don't care. And I just found that to be so refreshing and just open that I was like, wow, this is a great guy. He didn't give a crap. He wants to know who I am personally,
Absolutely.
and not like trying to
fit you into a bucket.
Be very careful about every step. He's like, we want to hire the right people. We want these people to be the right, and the only way I can find out is in this process. So. And every single person in the organization I met was like that. And it was just fantastic. I came back and I said, when I joined Disney, it was about the brand, the Disney brand.
Yes.
And it was a great brand. I always joke that I was one of the few people at Disney that actually wanted to do my job, because most of the other people at Disney were being an accountant because they also hoped to get
an acting job
or a writer job or a director job, and I was the only one that was in finance wanting to be in finance. So, but when this group here, they were just all awesome people, and I said to myself, you spend most of the day with the people you work, more than my kids, more than whatever, and I didn't have any of that.
You gotta like them.
So you got to be able to like them. If you don't like, if you don't like the people you work with, you shouldn't be doing it. You don't get involved there. That should be your first radar, because you ain't going to grow to like them. It's just going to get worse. And I like them all. I like them all. It had international opportunities because I knew I'd be traveling a little bit, but I'd be based out of Orlando. Oh, that sucks.
I know.
Yeah. Sunshine and the beach is 1 hour away. And because I was based out of Orlando, I knew I could be close to be able to take care of my grandmother at a moment's notice. And it just kind of... So I said yes.
So this isn't my story, but the quick part was I took a job with Tupperware, and the day that I knew that I would pick the right spot is when they came over the announcement in the entire building. They said, hey, please come outside to welcome our distributors. They were 98% female. Yeah. Welcome our distributors. And they had these big PA, public announcement systems, with just music pumping, and they wanted you to dance and to be fun, and I was just like, this is the place for me.
They were fabulous at making people feel special.
Yes, that is 100%.
And in what, money is money. We all need to make it.
Right.
But for a lot of those women in direct selling, who are maybe housewives, maybe just working, they don't get thanked for all or shown appreciation for all the things they do.
And being a part of that helping the life of service.
Selling, part of it was some supplemental income that might pay, but part of it was just really about self-worth, about having somebody appreciate what you were doing and recognizing that, and that was fabulous. And
giving them opportunities. I completely agree. So you get into this whole thing with strategy, right?
Yeah.
You're doing some strategic planning.
I helped build I led the building of the Tupperware website. And of course, this was the early days of internet.
Were you working with what's his name at the?
Mr. What's his name? Or was it What's and his name? What was it?
The website, I always think of the creative guy that designed the products, but oh geez.
Morrison Cousins?
Yes, but
no, he was it. So
he didn't do anything on the website.
And so I'm looking to create the website, and of course, this is those early days, and the old people are like, "Oh, you're new here, you don't understand. We've been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. This is just a fad, it'll go away,
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "Okay, we're going to do this great website. We're going to, let's put like a coupon on it that they can print out to redeem it up." Oh God, no, the world's gonna end,
I can see that because we had a lot of great people there, but there was still
there's
a foot in the past, and so you're just like, oh my gosh.
History can ground you, it can hold you back, and you have to figure out which parts are grounding and which parts are holding you back.
Exactly.
So and then I got a little bit creative, you could say.
Yes,
and so what we did was, because they don't call it this anymore, but we sat and we went into the media room and actually burped Tupperware, which means you go around the Tupperware and then at the very end you squeeze to get some air out.
Really
and it sounds like a burp. A Tupperware burp. And so we put on the website, find the Tupperware burp. And so we required people to go through all the website and go to all the different pages to try and find
creative
the burp. And if they did, they went into entered into a prize and everything and all this stuff. And the world was just like, oh my God. First, you got the lectures from the US. We don't call it a burp anymore. We call it a whisper.
A whisper. I don't remember that.
The organization called it a whisper. Everybody in
the world, outside of the organization,
called it a burp. It's a burp.
I know that. That's hilarious.
And then, so you did that. And then, of course, Europe was like, oh, no, the internet is horrible, and they're yelling and fighting this, and then sure enough, 3 months later, they're popping on board, doing their own stuff, They never come back and say, oh, yeah, good idea. But they're like, here, proud, look at what we did. Yeah, you copied it.
Exactly.
But good. So
it was a really exciting time.
Yeah, exciting time. So I was working on that. I was, traveling to Europe because
You were traveling to Europe.
Traveling all over the place.
Only
because
Germany?
At the start it was mainly Switzerland because I was working on another one of my projects was we have 3 different design centers at Tupperware. So we do. And so each one, the U.S. said, oh, it has to be this way for the U.S. Europe is like, has to be Europe. And Asia kept saying, that's fine, but it's all too big. It has to be smaller because our cabinets are smaller. So everything had to be smaller. So it was always funny. So when we made like a colander, we had to make 3 colanders.
Right.
So you had 3 talented people investing time on the same thing instead of having 3 talented people working on 3 projects and having more. So I tried to so we were trying to build at that time, which wasn't in existence, a worldwide product development program, a worldwide product development team. And so part of the things that I was doing was to try and show like a commonality amongst product lines.
Absolutely.
Everywhere you go, and that's part of my international that I've realized is every place you go, everybody is different. Oh, we're different. You don't understand. We're different.
Telling me that. I always laugh. But the thing that I think
Belgium. The Netherlands is like 2.5 to 3 hours from north to south. And every 50 miles, they're trying to tell me that the business there is 100% different than 50 miles away. And you just don't understand. The people in Groningen are different than the people in Friesland. Those are those people down there. What do you mean down there? Are they like 12 hours away? No. They're like a 45-minute drive. There are 3 McDonald's down the road. Because that's how in Europe whenever I had to get anywhere because we didn't have Google Maps, everything was in relationship to the McDonald's. I kind of knew where all the McDonald's were because I ate them all. And so, oh, you mean that McDonald's there? No, the other. Oh, that one there. Yeah, they have the good chicken nuggets. So.
I remember they said our taxes are different from their taxes. They charge it on something and you have to pay them. It's not so different. So you're going over there, you're doing this design center coordination worldwide, and what?
And so what you ended up finding out and learning, and I think this is it's a fairly simple rule that I work off of, which is amongst cultures around the world, about 90% is the same.
Yes.
And if you think about it fundamentally, we all have families, we all want to take care of our kids, and we all want the best for our kids, and we want our kids to have more than what we had. Okay, that's universal.
Right.
And we can focus on the universal, we can focus on the differences. And so we get caught up focusing on the difference. So the thing is, for every market, about 90% of it was the same, 10% of it different.
Right.
But in many of those markets, that 10% was critical.
You had to give it a nod. You had to
and
say
you had you couldn't just ignore it and say it was only 10%, because that 10% could be stronger than the 90. And you had to understand it and recognize the little twerk and uniqueness that made that market different than the other. And so when we did the analysis, I think like 93% of all the product, the top 20 around the world, 93% had commonality.
Right.
But there were very, very strong, unique differences in each market. And you had to reflect that. That's one of the things that Tupperware did great, because Tupperware was this, you had many other companies, many other direct sellers, selling companies, many other companies that had like a European head and everything flowed from the head. And Tupperware was tremendously decentralized.
Right.
So it was a little bit more economically inefficient.
Right.
Because you had marketing in every country and everything.
Right.
But that allowed local countries to maximize their opportunities, and they did. Oh man, and they did. And so part of what we were trying to do was to keep that localization and maximization of a market while building an umbrella of link over and support, so we weren't constantly reinventing the wheel. A lot of fascinating, cool stuff.
But like from what I could tell is that and hopefully I'm not overstating this, is that you and I had kind of a different view on the world. And your view, you and I were different for sure, but Americans generally don't have that open view that we see. And a lot of times, which I'm sure you got the same thing, is, hey, you're not like an American that we thought, because you're open to our culture and you're open to what's going on. And I think, the thing we try to talk about on Money with Mac and G is, an entrepreneurial spirit means being open to new ideas, to being open to pivots and so on. And from the stuff that we've done, you have to be open to the different cultures.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And no, like you said, it could be really 90-10, but that 10% could overshadow the 90 just because they believe it in their country. We are so different. So you have to acknowledge that and then go with that. And I found...
Like when you go into any market, you try and learn the language.
Yes.
Now, I have enough trouble
Not the whole language.
I have enough trouble trying to speak English.
Buenos dias, ¿cómo está?
And I knew I could study Dutch or Russian,
you wouldn't have a chance.
I could study it for years, which I did. And I chopped it up like you wouldn't believe. But there was so much appreciation for the
It goes a long way to them.
Because what you're doing is you're showing respect and saying, you guys matter. And in general, the ones that miss that are the ones that miss that connection. And if you're not connecting with the local staff, you're not getting
it's
anywhere.
A big, because
I had to bring change. So every market I went into was like the markets that Ben, they've been down for 10 years.
They're beat down, they're not feeling good.
They haven't lost, everything's shrinking. They've basically given up, but they think what they're doing is its best in the right way you can humanly do it, even though no success is coming. Exactly. And you've got to be the agent of change and convince them that it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah. And if you don't build, if you don't build relationships, you have nothing to leverage off.
They made so much fun of me when I said pescado de amor, which was like a telenovela, and that's just like a soap opera that they used to have. And I thought I remembered it was pescado de amor, which is the fish of love.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're saying the fish of love here, yeah.
It's like pecado, which means like the heart of love or something like that. And they just laughed and laughed. And that little screw up, because I was trying, opened so many doors. It's like, hey, you're the pescado de amor guy. And I'm like, yes, I am. It's pretty hilarious. And they would let you in and talk to you about stuff. And, I think the skill set of being open to those new ideas, the skill set of being open to the cultures, is a really big talent, and it's a skill set that can get you really far in your career and in your life. I mean, especially from an entrepreneur's perspective, right? You're seeing the differences, you're realizing which differences are actually valuable or not, and you're putting them to really good use, and they're valuable.
And ideas don't get you to success. Being exactly right does not get you to success. people get you to success. And if you
Yes.
can't get people on board, you'll never get a great idea anywhere.
You can be 100% right and never get anything done.
Yep.
So it's a big
You're
difference.
one person in a huge organization, and you need not that one person pulling the midnight oil.
You need everybody.
It's getting the team running all in the same, and all of these great books.
So you're at Tupperware and you're doing these interesting things, and then you what we call roll out. You roll out from corporate into the field.
Yep.
And in the field, where was like one of your first positions?
First positions was over in Frankfurt. They managed and were targeted with opening up all of Eastern Europe. So I was going into, Czech Republic, Lithuania, Latvia, wherever.
Scary? Scary at all? Because those are some pretty big names. Like people in the U.S. go, what's really over there?
Czech Republic is gorgeous. Absolutely
Czech,
beautiful.
Slovak Republic.
They were all amazing. Just
Remember
some
Aggie?
more colder than the
Do
other.
you remember Aggie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aggie was great. So anyway, but yeah, it is absolutely
So-
beautiful. So you're going into these places and opening them up.
Yep. So you're opening them up. You're getting, because we're a very grassroots. Our business is in the home. So, you're having to make those connections. So, you're going in, you're meeting friends of friends, just trying to find anyone to start to do some price sensitivity, to try and understand what pricing you could probably pull off in the market, start to build, start to understand income levels and how much,
You're learning a ton.
And so you're really digging deep into understanding the culture, the mindset of people.
Which
and
it
to
can
see
be
if you
applied
can
to
align
U.S.
because your
too. It's the
business
same
model-
thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like instead of this country, it's the U.S. and you're asking the same things, but you're figuring this stuff out and you're in these pretty exotic places, right? Not necessarily fully protected.
Exotic? Riga?
I would say exotic from
Villainous?
a perspective that it's completely different from what you were used to.
Moscow, 4 things on the menu. You have
Still-
boiled chicken,
Okay.
boiled beef,
I need to look
boiled
at the definition.
pork,
I didn't say it was good
and-
exotic.
and boiled fish. Okay, I'll have the boiled beef. Sorry, we don't have that today. Okay, I'll have the boiled chicken. We don't have that today. Okay, I'll have the fish. We don't have that today. Have the pork. Okay, let me go check to see if there is any. But yet there's a 2-page menu on vodka. So I'm not sure that's that exotic.
People, it doesn't have to be cool to be exotic because there's a lot of exotic places that just don't have really great food. But at the end of the day, you're experiencing all this stuff.
Told you my pod from the last podcast. Exotic. I go to the bathroom and they ask me if I want 1
Or 2 sheets.
or 2 sheets. And there's a price difference between the two based upon the type of business I was going to do there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought the question was, hey, are you doing a number 1 or a number 2? Because I charge you different for those. I'm like, oh my
And if you're doing
gosh.
number 2, how's your stomach feel? You need 2 sheets or 3?
Exactly. I remember the first time that hit me was in a Belgian train station. And I was like, really? I got to pay and I got to tell you which one I'm going to do? I'm not really sure. I'm kind of half committed to the number 2 right now. So,
Yeah, I was outside. I was in the city of Pushkin outside of Catherine the Great's palace at this place that basically had a hole in the ground.
oh yeah, we call it a Turkish toilet, which hopefully is not offensive.
Kind of like an outhouse that they charge for, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to charge you 10 cents to go to the bathroom. Okay. But so you're
and
doing
you're in the train going back and forth to the city and somebody's walking up and down the cars selling things.
Oh yeah.
And because it's entrepreneur, it's commerce, people trying to make money. And it's not just what you think. It's Band-Aids. I never forgot. Because a pack of Band-Aids comes in a pack of 20. That's expensive. So he's selling 2-3 Band-Aids at a time.
Oh my.
Anybody need 2 Band-Aids?
Oh
2
my.
2 rubles. Get some of your Band-Aids. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There are all these weird stories.
That's a great example of buy in bulk and sell it individual for a markup.
Yeah.
He bought in a bulk of 20 Band-Aids and sold them one by one for a huge profit.
Oh, jeez. Takes you 10 years, but you got through there. So you've been Tupperware. You're going into the field. You are learning about a number of countries that you've probably never really read anything about before, and now you're trying to figure stuff out of Germany. So
And a lot of what we're doing is, if you think about it, as micro entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So
I agree.
in our businesses, you're going into the grassroots of the country, all throughout the country, and you're meeting individual people that are trying to start and build their own little, let's say, Tupperware business.
Yep.
And helping them to fulfill their dreams. And some of these people I mean, they grew, they were school teachers that are getting paid $200 a month, but hadn't been getting paid in 6 months. And
that's just amazing.
And she started with us, and after I think 3 or 4 years, she was earning close to $1 million a year.
$1 million.
And I wasn't even near that. But that's the way it should be. It's a risk reward. Right, I was corporate. She was taking a lot of risk in doing this. She deserves a bigger payoff, and she got it. God bless. It was
because
awesome.
the $200 over there is a big deal, and that's what you can live on and have a good life or not a good life.
Good meal, Serdenko.
Wow, that's interesting. So you had this mindset. You wanted international, which I always thought was really cool.
International entrepreneurism and helping people. It was a perfect fit. And it was awesome. It was a great run.
I mean, Mary, what's her name in Ireland that we both knew? She was just an amazing woman. I know we can't talk. Well, nobody
Mary
knows.
Brennan.
Yeah, you said it. You weren't supposed to say it.
I'm not supposed to say
She gets caught in the bathtub.
Well, I wasn't going to say that part.
I'm sorry. Okay, we love you, Mary Brennan.
Love you, Mary.
I do. I so love you.
And you are more than welcome on another podcast to tell your stories.
And you're more than welcome to come here.
Love to gather attention and get yourself into situations that you needed hotel staff to get you out of.
But what I was going to say was,
but God bless.
She was an amazing person that had this great personality that just needed an opportunity, and she took it and she did wonderful things. And for that, I am grateful because she gave so much joy to me when I was over there.
And what you heard thousands and thousands of times is how that opportunity changed their lives.
Literally changed it. A lot of
people don't realize it because it's all about the Benjamins. But on a lot of, some made some really great money, some made a little money, but generally, at least what we're proud of in Tupperware is they all walked away very happy about the experience and how, not they all, but walked away happy about the experience, and it was life-changing for them. It helped them to build self-confidence, and that self-confidence, which I was proud of, got to flow through the family. So the kids got to see their mom glowing and getting success, and that inspired a little girl that she could get success too, maybe in life.
Exactly.
And that was so...
To me, that meant something.
That was so rewarding. That was what the value of all of it. Yeah. And you totally did. You totally got energized, and you had a sense of gratitude and reward. And when they got success and they were on, let's say, stage as number one, and the great part about it is you say, okay, did I do that to her? No, she did that to herself, because for every one of her, there was someone else that said I couldn't, and so they didn't. She did it herself, but I got the satisfaction out of knowing that I had the opportunity to provide the tools.
Yes.
But she was the one that chose to take advantage, pick up those tools and work with them.
And that was
a tremendous amount. I didn't get her success. She got her own success.
I was in accounting and finance, so I was just happy that I was even
but we were all part of the
that.
same. We were all part of the same wheel that was doing the same thing, which was providing opportunities for people.
I have amazing memories of Tupperware, the different things that we had done, the different people I had met, how there was a lot of gratitude, there was a lot of just thankfulness of it all. It was pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
So you're doing the work out in Eastern Europe, and then you get the opportunity to be a managing director somewhere. I can't remember what was the first place you went for managing director. Was that in Russia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Russia.
So you
got did Russia, started it up from scratch, and that was a rocket ship. And so after that.
Because I remember talking to you about Russia, and you're like, hey dude, I need 4,000 decibles that you have, that are ready to be destroyed or whatever. I'll take them all. And I'm like, I like this guy.
Well, you had the 98 crisis there, and the ruble went from every single day the ruble was just jumping around devaluing. I have the pride of knowing that I am the only Tupperware country to actually have a minus sales month, because the ruble shifted the other way, so everybody returned because we were on this dollar basis, and so we had negative sales one month. I mean, sure, that darn thing grew up to over 100 million or something like that, but it was rather funny that when that month came in and you had your monthly performance report to corporate and had to explain how you ended up with minus sales.
Because I remember you were schooling me on all kinds of stuff. It's like, Ben, you don't understand. He goes, I'll take the cheapest stuff you can get me, because that stuff is worth so much more here, and if I could just get it for like 10 cents, I can make some money.
Because again, different markets were different ways. They didn't care that it was the latest color or not. They were focused on functionality.
Yes.
They were driven by functionality, and if the product worked, they were willing to pay for it. They didn't care what color it was.
Yes.
So all of the stuff from Europe that nobody wanted, if they were going to give me 75% off for me to get rid of their... Thank you, Merry Christmas.
I love that because I was having a problem getting rid of stuff and nobody was doing that. And you were just saying, give it all to me. I'm like, well, we're sending more to you. Let's go. So that was awesome. So you're running Russia, and you tell me that great story about how all your computers disappeared that one time.
Oh yeah. So you have in Russia you have some dark elements. So in those days you had a lot of mob stuff and a lot of gray work.
And we were in the UK at the time, right? Didn't you get the call in the UK?
Yeah, because I was managing both at that time, jumping.
Because we were hanging out, and you're like, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah, they stole all the computers.
They stole all the computers, but we're paying protection money, and for people who don't know, that's a real thing, and it's a real thing in a lot of places, and you're paying that money, and then you're like,
you pay certain people who you hope have good enough relationships that other people won't steal or try and bother you because they're afraid of those people.
Yes. And so they're being paid, and then all of a sudden everything disappears because somebody comes in the morning and goes, oh my gosh, none of the computers are here. You make a call to the facilitator? Is that the right way to say it? To the facilitator, and then all of a sudden, what was it?
Our security.
Your security. Sorry, yeah. I'm sorry. Your security
analyst.
Names, yeah. And then all of a sudden,
who
it shows
former
up
KGB
2 hours later, or whatever it was, and it's not put together. It just shows up in the middle of the room with all the cables there, and you put that together. But there are so many stories, and
it was interesting learning because it was during a very crucial time in their history where they were making a conversion from communism planned economy to a capitalistic market-driven economy, So, a great example was we saw this meeting space that we needed. It was about 250 meters, perfect. It was sitting for a year and a half, not being sold, and we needed a space, and we just needed it for about 6 months.
Right.
And I'm just like, came up to the guy, and I'm like, okay, this hasn't sold for a year and a half. I'll take it for 6 months. You can put it on the market. Keep it on the market. All you need to do is give me 2 weeks notice. I'll be out of there. So at least you'll get some revenue in for the next, whether it's week or 6 months until you get rid of this, but at least you get some free money in,
Right.
And I'll even remodel, we call it remodel. I'll even remodel the place, get it all painted, everything, because that's what I'm going to need it for. Great deal. Free money. And he says no.
Yet.
Yeah, no. He says no. I'm like, you know what? He has his number. Because in the old days of the Soviet Union, you had your number, you had your price, and that's what people paid. That's what people paid. And he would rather sit
on
nothing to get an expectation of a price than to negotiate, get a little bit less or a little piece less.
Then keep it on the market for another 6 months.
And sure enough, 2 years later, the thing was still not rented out.
Yeah.
But and you were dealing with that mindset. So it wasn't this American logical way of going about it. It's just, and you had to deal with that. And so some of the things couldn't work and operate the way in which you wanted to and you hoped to.
Exactly. So you you did Russia, you learned like a lot of great stuff, and then you moved to other countries, right? Yeah. That's how we met, because we met in London.
We met in London, and working to turn around the UK, which was awesome. It was a great adventure.
It was a crazy, great adventure.
It was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work. It was work hard, play hard. It was really interesting, but it was really exciting because like we talked about, we took a market that was down for 10 years in a row. And then just like within a few months, we started getting plus again and getting back on the track. And to watch people that had been beaten down year after year, and to start to get hope, and to start to believe. And that's probably one of the big lessons to learn there, if you're ever in, is anyone that's looking to do a turnaround, you have to have your strategy for what your next 2 to 5 years is, but nobody's going to wait 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You need to combine short-term wins and momentum to a long-term goal.
Yeah.
And you got to always, so everything you do has to have a long-term vision of where you want to be, but short-term actions right now that help you to get things going, but also are aligned with where you want to be 2 to 5 years from now. And if you do anything that's not aligned with where you want to be 2 to 5 years from now, you're taking a step back. And so that's kind of the interesting part. We got some early wins in the beginning, got people to believe, and then it became a snowball.
It was brutal, though. It was brutal for me. Yeah. Because I can't remember how long I was there before you got there.
Invoicing was down for 6 months.
Remember I had to sue people?
At the time.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. At the time I walked in, my finance person was had claims against my finance person being Ben. Just so we're clear, my finance person had claims against 18 of our 25 distributors, or was it 22 of our 25 distributors?
It was a lot.
I remember going down to Surrey to meet with. We always kept saying sorry, but it's Surrey. I went down to Surrey
because I know who that is.
We're not mentioning that name because there's probably still legal stuff going on there.
It was the husband-wife down in Surrey, wasn't it? Or was it
yes.
the wife? Okay.
Going down to Surrey, going in their house, sitting in their living room, and they were distributors of the year last year. Our number one best. And I come in and say, I'm new here. I'm really excited. Congratulations. What can I do to help grow your business? And she breaks down crying and says, well, I have to be in court next week because you guys are suing me.
I did.
And once I get through, I can't focus on anything else until I get through that. And I was just like, oh, God, this is going to be a little bit longer and a little bit harder than I thought.
You to think I never told you, or maybe I did, but I had probably at least a dozen distributors in my office crying their eyes out.
Yeah.
How dare
But also
you,
that was the place. That was the place where I called a distributorship, which is a business,
right.
Because they had warehouse stocking. I called. I got the answer machine, and we're just going to call her Susan because there were no Susan. I was going to say Jane, but we have Janes.
Yeah.
There's Susan. I called and Susan and say, and here they answer me. Hi, this is Susan. My knickers are down by my knee and I'm sitting on the toilet. So once I get off, I'll give you a call back. And she thought that was cute.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is a business. It was like, welcome to Tupperware Distributorship. I'm Susan. My knickers are down by my knees, and I'm sitting on the toilet. So
I was like a young kid when this was all happening. I know, but I was like dying.
And you're just like going, oh my God, we're going to grow with this?
I even know better than that.
But again, it was about modernizing, contemporarying a brand. We looked at the strategy, looked at where we were, looked at where we weren't. We started to build a retail channel with kiosks in the shopping centers, and to build our brand and to get our awareness out. We talked with some of the large grocery chains about doing B2Bs, and we got a lot of great success. It was really exciting.
The Tesco, yeah, that was pretty exciting.
We took them all whitewater rafting. Didn't know there was whitewater rafting in the UK. Yeah, we took them up whitewater rafting. Everybody got them on the bus, told them we were going whitewater rafting, and I says, no way, we're not doing it. Not happening. Absolutely not. I hate this. They bitched and moaned the whole way up. We did the whitewater rafting and came, best trip ever, loved it, whatever, so super nice. Why do you fight me on this? But an openness and an open mind. And that's the thing, because you had 20 years of history. And that was another lesson, because it doesn't matter what business you're in. We had a business where it was a zero-sum game. It was viewed as us or them. Our customers, which were our distributors, they hated us. And we thought they were a bunch of not very intelligent people. Okay. Idiots.
Oh, yeah. But we found out differently.
And what you end up learning is you're never going to get anywhere in there. Until you break down those walls, build partnerships with your customers, build partnerships with your partners. All your 360-degree partners, from suppliers to other markets that you can learn off of and adopt and adapt, to your customers, building them all together that we're all going in the same direction and running the same way. You're never going to get anywhere. Yeah. And once we got that, then we were running forward because they believed we were all on the same page, and they were there. They were knowing that a screw up that we might have done was a mistake. We weren't. They really thought we were there
to fire them all,
to screw them.
Yeah.
And once they realized that we were there to help them, but sometimes we make some mistakes.
Right.
Things started to happen.
It was such an incredibly tough time, but also just an incredibly rewarding time as well.
Yeah.
And I look back and some of my best memories are at Tupperware. I just really enjoyed it, and it sounds like you did too, because you got the opportunity to be a managing director in a couple different locations.
Yep.
You traveled all over the world. Man, we literally could sit here and talk for 2, 3, 4, 5 more hours on just all the fun stuff that we did. All the crazy times downtown, meeting the it girls and
the it girls and her. The it girl that lived. The it girl is kind of like the Paris Hilton type of person for the UK. She lived 2 doors down from me in Notting Hill, and she invites us over to see her place, and it is the biggest pigsty you've ever seen. I mean, the most unbelievable pigsty. Like you were walking over stacks of clothes, and she's picking up, what was it, toilet paper? Or tissue paper or something, and pick up and go, oh, I sponsor that, and they give this to me for free, oh, I sponsor this, they give this to me for free. And I'm like, God, if anybody saw this house, nobody'd be giving you a penny.
I know.
She was so whacked out, and then started talking about,
wasn't she showing us the magazines that she was into?
Yeah, and her boyfriend that was like on drugs and in jail. And
I forgot.
And we both had girlfriends, and we're just like, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. But at the same time, she's really super famous. This is kind of cool.
Really
maybe a paparazzi will get a photo. It'll hit the newspaper. Tupperware will get publicity, and we'll grow the business.
But I remember because we were over there at 9/11 too, And,
oh yeah.
And we remember people interrupting our conversation and our meeting, and we said, "Yeah, that's
rolling a TV in, the TV that they use for the World Cup, because in Europe nobody goes to work when the World Cup is playing, so you have to have a TV." Yeah. But yeah, I remember we were sitting in the meeting and saw it.
But the World Cup, they shut the world down. I mean, over
if you don't put a TV in the office, people don't show up. It has the most sick days every.
So you put it in there, and people are working, but they're also watching. So anyway, and you just kind of roll with it.
So 9/11 comes in, and it's surreal. You're in a foreign country.
Yes.
And you're watching, the towers go down in a foreign country,
And people they can understand it, but they can't understand it.
Yeah. And it just, and of course the whole world shut down. So, we were supposed to be in Paris, because we reported up to Paris. We were supposed to be in Paris. I was supposed to fly the next day or the day after. And the whole thing was just surreal.
Because a week later, I jumped on a flight from Gatwick back to Orlando. And it was crazy because I'd never seen in Gatwick the number of automatic machine guns. And the number of dogs too, because they had those, I don't know what you call them, not the stiffing dogs, but the security dogs.
Oh yeah, those German Shepherds. Yes, nasty, yeah.
And
I'm sorry, lovely animals,
but
just beautiful.
But they're trained to be nasty if they needed to be. Yeah. And so I went through.
Oh yeah, they were escorting the jets. The jets were escorting. Remember?
Yeah,
flying over the Atlantic.
Originally,
coming into U.S. airspace.
They were.
Jets were coming to meet and escort a little bit.
And I got on the plane, and people are like, "Are you crazy? You're going to be on the plane?" I was like, "This is the most secure time ever." I mean, I got so many searches going through the metal detector. It was absolutely insane. And
massages, we call them.
The plane was only 10% full. So I had full rows to myself, and it was awesome. But those were just some crazy stories. We should go over those sometimes.
That was just, it's surreal being in a foreign country when something like that happens in your homeland, and you're trying to understand it, figure it out.
And, just through our whole conversation, one of the things just to get people more comfortable with is, taking risks, and some of the things that you did, they're a little bit off the beaten path, for sure, right? You drove across the country to get to LA, and you got this job with Disney, but then you turn around and you get your MBA from the University of North Carolina, and then you get a job as a fluke with Tupperware. And what I mean by a fluke is...
It was a fluke.
You didn't even know or even have it on the radar.
Yeah, it was a $1 beer.
And then you get this job.
It's a $1 beer at He's Not Here.
$1 beer, he's not here. So you get this job, but then it leads you to Eastern Asia, leads you to Russia, leads you to Germany, leads you to the UK, and all these crazy places. And, as we stressed before, and you and I have talked about, the path is not a direct path. No. And the success of individuals, especially when they're talking about money and their well-being and their wealth, those paths aren't straight, and you just need to continue to focus in on making just a little bit of progress every day.
Yeah.
And so
part of it, the part I would say that goes against the career grain There's a lot of people that are focused on career ambition.
Yep.
And what I tried to always do is focus on adventure.
And I respect
because
that.
if you focused on adventure, you were doing things that were new, interesting, and having fun. And if you're lucky, then the rewards follow you. And sometimes it did, and sometimes it didn't. But they were always great adventures.
But it never gets any better unless you actually try, and it never gets you any better unless you put yourself out there. And that's what we want to do, because I was never comfortable with money when I was younger. I was never comfortable with CEOs. I was never comfortable with people in power. And over the years, I've slowly broken down those walls, and I've seen the amazing things that you, who is a pretty average guy, but with just exceptional skills and talent, was able to do in the 50 countries you've been in. And I sit there and go, oh my gosh, I'm this average guy, but I speak 3 languages, and I've traveled and worked in over 20 countries, and I've done these amazing things. And so
you only live once, so if you're focused on career ambition, you're focused on an end goal, and you may not be happy, until if you hit that end goal, I really hope you are happy. Or you can choose another path, which is to figure out what you like to do and do it, and the universe will reward you for it.
But the whole thing about you leading a life of service because of what happened at a very young age, taking those risks and being in those amazing places with an entrepreneurial spirit, which is an open mind and the ability to work well with people, I think is absolutely fantastic. So why don't we go ahead and end it there, and thank everybody for being here. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment.
Time to wake up.
And time to wake up.
Time to wake up. And if you're driving, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, but I think there's some really great stories in there, and hopefully we'll get a chance to get back and do that again. So we thank everybody for being here, and thank you,
Thanks
Glenn.
for the opportunity.
We really appreciate it.
Love you very much. You're a brother to me. So
and we'll do it. We'll do it again soon, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.